I am so excited to have on the Gist today Jeannie Gaffigan, who is here and going to talk about some awesome things going on in her life. You're the mom of 5. You produced your husband's show. It's not really your husband's show. He's the star, but you did all the stuff for it. And just all around a champion of the Catholic faith and just in the world and doing great things and being such a great witness for our faith. So thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you for having me. What a great introduction. Wow.
I'm a big fan. Tell us a little bit. So this time last year, you were going through a real health crisis.
It's actually like a 1-year anniversary. So I found out that I had an extremely large brain tumor on my brain stem and that it was compromising my life and I needed to get it resected immediately. And as a result, I may lose control over certain nerves, such as, if you know what the cranial nerves are, they're very important. So they control like breathing, swallowing. As you sit here today, as you can see, aside from some vocal weakness, I'm, almost 100% recovered, and it hasn't even been a year.
Oh my gosh.
So both medically and spiritually, it's considered miraculous, my recovery.
You know, the surgeon told me the tumor was the size of a pear, which is scary, but also confusing. I was like, did he go to med school or a farmer's market? But tumors are often compared to fruit. A pear, a lemon, a grapefruit. Interesting fact, worst tumor, grapefruit. Worst fruit, grapefruit.
What has that meant to you in your faith journey, to have something like this happen? And to have something scary like this happen, where I think some people, it would be tempting to maybe say, why did you allow this to happen? But there's the opportunity to look at it and say that you were really healed, and where are you at in all that?
I mean, I don't want to boast or brag or anything about my faith because there's challenge waiting around every corner. I mean, and we need to be prepared for it. I'm not like, woo, I'm glad I got that over with. Now no more tragedies can happen.
That's your one thing, yeah.
That's my one thing. How my faith played a role in this is when I got this diagnosis, and it was the big unknown. Was like, we don't know if I'm gonna live, and if I do, we don't know what, I'm not gonna be me anymore. Yeah. You wanna be like, okay, I want the best doctors, I want answers, I wanna know exactly what's gonna happen. But the truth is, we never do. So I think that how my faith right away played a role in this whole story was that right away I just said, I just was talking to God, like we all do. We even were like, God, why don't you give me that parking spot? Even if you have that kind of like metaphysical reality where you just talk to God all the time, like I do, when these kind of things happen, it wasn't like, okay, God, he gave me this brain tumor and I'm gonna just say yes. It was more like, okay, here's the thing. This is coming down. I don't know what's going to happen, but here's what I would like, if it be your will. Survive, be able to raise my kids, and if I'm that mom with that half of the face, fine, because I'll just be that mom with the half of the face. I already have a husband, so,
You're set.
I'm set. So, but I just want to live. The conversation continued with God because I felt like that I needed to use this experience in some way to change the world. And it might be just the world right in front of me, or it might be just my kids. Even when I take a shower, I'm like, I'm taking a shower by myself. Thank you, God. Because there was a while where that was questionable. Like, is she going to be able to get dressed, eating, drinking? It's so easy for us to forget that every single thing we do, every hug, every time we see our kid walk in the door, it's all a miracle. And so even if it's just changing that little part and just being able to communicate that to someone and not keeping this experience for myself only, and just being able to say, you never know what's going to happen. You never know if when you say goodbye to someone you love, it's going to be the last time you ever see them. And that's just something that we all can so easily let go of and forget about and be like just caught up in the stress of the moment.
Yeah.
All of us, even if we're sailing through life right now, are going to have a health crisis with a parent, with a loved one, God forbid, a child. There's going to be something that is challenging to our faith and to our existence. And who and what are we going to have in that moment? Who's going to be there for us? Because if we just say, well, it's going to be my husband, we're going to be let down, because humans can be there as much as possible, but you need something more. And I need to let everyone know that if I did not have my spirituality in this situation, I would be lost. I want to make this other observation. The people in the ICU are in the worst condition. And all these little angels are working here. Everyone from the nurses to the people who bring the food, who take out the garbage. And I was like, I want to raise children who would be willing to do something like this. Because are we really raising our children to want that kind of a job? So what can we do in this world, in this crazy world that has so much to offer our kids? What can we give them that will give them that little part of the joy of service to other people?
We are all going to go through some kind of crisis at some level, maybe not as personally as you, but how do you do that? Because we hear that and then we forget so easily that, every little thing, like we really do have to detach from these things. And like, what is the key? And like, for me, what I'm hearing you say is like, you really see your relationship with God as a solid friendship versus checking in with him when you need him to fix something for you.
I agree, but I don't want to like boast about it, because I do the, hey God, I haven't talked to you since the last time I needed something, but I do that. And I also view God as the boss. So I'm not just like, oh yeah, I'm hanging out with my friend Jesus today, we're getting a coffee. I am like, okay, you're the boss.
Yes.
And I mean, I remember walking to the Easter Vigil Mass last Easter, and the Monday I was going into the hospital, and I was like, wow, I just am nothing, and you're everything. But I think that the key is that in our daily check-in, our daily prayer, our daily conversation, that's like going, look, thank you for all these blessings I have right now, and I just trust that whatever is around this next corner, you're going to be there with me.
Coming up next on The Gist.
Who's your favorite saint?
Well, actually, my favorite saint is Saint Joan of Arc. When I was a little girl, my mom told me that was my patron saint, and that I was going to be this warrior for God. I mean, I have a lot of favorite saints now that I know more about the saints, but that's going to be the first one I always answer, because as a child, it was a great role model for me, because it wasn't like the weak little girl, princess who needed the prince to come save her. It was this really strong female warrior.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be like female centric here, but it's like being a mother and working and being the kind of emotional center of the family is an incredibly challenging role. And we need to be warriors. And I think that was kind of the saint that I kind of grabbed onto as a child, and will always be my first answer.
I love that.
Even though I love Saint Bernadette. I think the saints are just incredible. I just went through my daughter's getting confirmed. My oldest daughter is getting her confirmation in a week. It's very exciting. And there's a lot about picking a saint, and you have to kind of talk about all these saints. And my daughter knew all about all these like alt saints that I didn't know about because she's cool. And it was just really fun to kind of have that saint conversation.
Yeah.
So I know you're all dying to know who she picked, and it was Saint Cecilia, who's the patron saint of music.
Excellent.
So
is she into music?
She's into music.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I was really impressed when you had the show coming out, how good you are at using social media. You did a good job of being conscious about using that as almost an evangelistic tool of, getting the word out about your show, but a show that was very positive about the Catholic faith, which was awesome. So did your use of social media, what was your thinking in all of that?
I mean, I think that, first of all, I love Twitter. I know Twitter's getting a really bad rap these days.
It can be kind of combative sometimes.
I think that the great thing about Twitter, I just kind of get it. I kind of get it, and my husband gets it. So he kind of taught me Twitter. And the way that he taught it to me was like, okay, you need to do 5 funny things before you tell them that you have a show on sale in Atlanta, because or else you're just plugging your show.
Yeah.
So it's like, just be yourself and be funny and do 5 funnies before you do a plug, because or else if it's all plugs, you know, if it's all plugs, you're doing a commercial for yourself.
Yeah.
And if it's all funny, you know, there's no reason you're doing it. So basically, I kind of am like, every once in a while, I'll give like the straight down the line Catholic tweet. But everyone comes along. Everyone comes along because they know that I'm also like, I'm flawed. I'm, you know, sometimes I'm a bad mom. Sometimes I'm a bad wife. Sometimes I'm a bad person. And I'm going to say these observations. So I'm not like some holy roller who's like proselytizing to you.
Yeah.
Because I just be honest. Like, I just don't hide and create some persona.
Yeah.
I did a tweet on Easter and I showed my MRIs. It was like 3 MRIs in a row. It was before, right after, and 3 months later. And you could see it was a miracle. It was a huge tumor, a big hole in my head, and then brain filling back in. And when I looked at it, the image that I got was the stone rolling away from the tomb. So I put the MRI up there, and then I put the quote from Matthew in there, and that was my tweet. And I didn't lose any followers. Because, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone, whether they're whatever walk of life, it's right there.
Yeah.
And I think people are like, good for her.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I'm not Catholic, but she is, and I respect that.
Yeah.
But if I did that all the time, then I would only have Catholics. And
Yeah.
plus the ones who are like, actually, you misquoted Matthew.
I know.
Because those are my favorite.
Oh, it's
That's
rough.
why I love my block function. I'm like, I just don't want any of that.
Yeah, no, God bless those people. I think that was such a big part of the appeal of your show, is that you did a good job of making it for everybody, really, because it was very, I would say, pro-Catholic or very positive about Catholic, but then it wasn't just like this cookie cutter thing. Like, you had a character on there who was gay, and that might be too much for somebody way over here, but for somebody way over there, it was not what you would expect, and that's what I enjoyed about it, is it was kind of edgy. I mean, the episode about Jim's dad was where they cussed the entire time.
He just cussed the whole time.
So
I got some flack about
classic,
that.
though.
But his dad did cuss.
Yeah.
His dad said GD every sentence, and they were a Catholic family.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe, at my daughter's Catholic school, how many people came up who said, that was my father in the 70s.
Yeah.
My father was like working the grind, you know, Pa putting food on the table, but 1970s version.
Yeah.
And he would come home and have a beer and just start cussing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about anything other than get me a GD beer or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was the way it was. And rather than polishing it and doing the lace curtain Irish where nothing bad happens, which is also part of my extended family. There's some people saying, oh no one has a problem with alcohol in our family. And it's like, I think that also the Jim Gaffigan show was, we just tried to be real about it, because here we are in New York. We got the Jewish friend, we've got the gay friend, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
The reason why our faith is not scary to people is because we're just out there with it. We don't hide it, we don't apologize for it.
Yeah.
And we just are it. And I feel like we have admiration for it, rather than people being like, oh, you know what, can you not bring the Catholic stuff in? And I recently had a producer visit my house, and he was like, you're the only one I know who has like iconic Catholic statues in your home that aren't ironic. And I'm like, that's because you live in New York.
Yeah.
But because growing up, we had an altar in our house. And I knew people who had like the light switch with the holy water font on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what's not ironic? It was like, people had that stuff.
Yeah, and they still do. I do. I have my little holy water by the front. Actually, I don't keep water in it though, because the boys, I think, were kind of getting into it on a regular basis. But I love that, because I think the reality is that, like, it exposes both sides to a broader spectrum, because I sometimes feel like in the media, most Catholics and Christians do get pegged as somebody who couldn't be friends with a gay person, or or Jewish person. I mean, and I hate that because I'm like, if we're really living our faith, it's the call to love, I think, at the heart of it. And if, like, there are a lot of us out there that have that ability. I mean, I hope I'm one of them, and I love that about your show. It was like good Catholic people who had a variety of friends, and it wasn't just this, like, we can only be friends with people with big families.
You have to show love. It's I mean, unless I'm reading a different gospel than everyone else, there's absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. If you read the Gospels, the ones that I read say they're absolutely about those outcast people, or the people who are fringe people, or disenfranchised by society, are the people that you're supposed to love.
Just loving. I know. Jeannie, thank you so much for being with us. You're such an inspiration, and I hope and pray that, you know, God keeps using you in all the different ways He is.
Thank you.